Welcome everyone, this is Kevin Miller, President of Vision Bound International, and we have moved the location for this workshop from my garage with all of the tools out to this beautiful pond that's near my home that is actually full of fish. The fish are going to symbolize your customers and how you get them to the surface and catch them and develop customer loyalty. I will tell you that very few things will build your success of your business faster than winning loyal customers. Not just satisfied. Satisfied's not good enough. Your competitors are already satisfying your customers. Anybody can satisfy a customer, but winning their loyalty, customer loyalty, is what we're going to talk about in this webinar, and you're going to see some slides and get some tools from it. This is a part of our Interweave Solutions Virtual Leadership Institute. And you know that I have been talking to you about filling your leadership toolbox. And this toolbox is full of ideas, and you've seen some, perhaps you've seen my videos on delegating, resolving conflict, and effective listening. Well, this is going to be a little bit different because this webinar is about fishing. So you can see that I am dressed a little bit like a fisherman. I got my fisherman's hat, my vest, and instead of a toolbox, I've got a tackle box. Now in this box is all kinds of things that fish like. So if you think about your customers, what is the bait that you put in the water that's going to draw them to you? What is it that you have that they want? So this toolbox, this tackle box, has all kinds of stuff in it. Maybe trout are going to want salmon eggs. Maybe some other type of fish is going to want some kind of power bait. This is called power bait, trout bait. And there's trout in this little pond behind us. And then you have to have the hooks. And you have to have all the tools that you need to fish. Now, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about getting the right bait in the water to win your customers to your business and make them loyal. So I created a book some years ago called Customers Only Want Two Things. And this book is something that you can get, or I have it in an e-book, which you could have. But the two things that customers want are solve my problem and leave me feeling great. And that's the basics of customer loyalty. It's not enough to solve the customer's problem. That makes them satisfied. Winning their loyalty is something else. So that's what you're going to learn some in this webinar. How to win loyal customers. So like I said, you have to know what customers you want. What are they hungry for? So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to illustrate it here in just a minute. So if your customers want a certain type of product or service, you've got to know that. You've got to listen to the customer, what do they need, and then you develop the answer for them, the things that are going to meet their needs and win their loyalty. Because loyal customers do four things. They come back, they buy more from you, but very importantly, they refer their friends to you. And then they offer feedback. They want you to succeed. They care about that. Those are the four things that we want your customers to do. Come back, refer their friends, buy more, and all that good stuff. Okay, so let me illustrate that before we get into the actual workshop and the slides, because I'm going to show you. You might not think that there's a lot of customers in this water behind you, but watch carefully what happens when I have the right bait. These are pellets that trout love. So you might look here and you might say, there's no customers in this water. Watch what happens. Watch the water carefully. Look at them. They're going crazy. I'm giving them what they want. And they want more. They're out there. Some of these fish are almost 18 inches long. And these are beautiful trout here in Utah. So what is it that your customers want? What is the product that you're going to give them that they're going to jump for, like these guys? They want more. Give us more. Bring our friends. Bring the other fish to the boat. That's what you want. So, in this workshop, I'm going to give you some ideas about this. Obviously, I usually teach this in a half and even a full day. And it is based upon my book, like I said, the book, Customers Only Want Two Things: Solve My Problem and Leave Me Feeling Great. Also, I've created a deck of cards. Each one of these cards has one idea of how to win loyal customers. You're going to get some of these in the webinar in the handout packet. And you can actually get more of these if you want them. You can contact me. All right, so let's start really winning loyal customers. I promise you, it is one of your things to success. And learning how to do it is a part of the leadership toolbox. What do you need to put in your toolbox that will get the customers to come to you, buy more, and refer their friends? So welcome to our webinar. Now remember, this webinar is part of a series of webinars that we're calling the Interweave Solutions Virtual Leadership Series. And there will be at least 10 of these webinars. I've already done ones on listening, resolving conflict, delegating, but this is certainly one of the most important ones: how to win loyal customers. So the customers are out there, my friends, and they're hungry. Just watch. You think they've fed enough, they've eaten enough? Watch this. There they are, out there jumping around, wanting more, because they're out there. And I promise you, the customers are out there too. They want what you have, but you've got to give it to them in a way that wins their loyalty. So again, Kevin Miller, president of Vision Bound International, part of the Interweave Solutions program. We are committed to your success. We want you to be successful. And I promise you, winning loyal customers is one of the keys to growth and success. So watch carefully, learn in this workshop, and then you'll see me again at the end when I close it up and talk to you about what you're going to do with this program. So thank you very much, everybody. Kevin Miller, president of Vision Bound International, and let's go fishing. Welcome everyone. This is Kevin Miller, president of Vision Bound International, welcoming you to this webinar on maybe my very favorite topic: how do we in our businesses win loyal customers? Not just satisfied customers, but loyal customers. They are really the lifeblood of your organization. They come back, buy more, refer their friends, and the process of winning loyal customers is what this webinar is going to be all about. Now, before you begin, please print out all the pages of the work packet that you received and be ready to write in it. If you don't have it, you'll be able to see images of it on the screen. So get this all ready and let's go. Years ago, I read a fascinating book by Jeffrey Gitomer called Customer Satisfaction is Worthless, Customer Loyalty is Priceless. And that topic fascinated me because he basically says it's worthless to merely satisfy our customers when other people already are. To differentiate ourselves, we need to win loyal customers, and the process is much different, and I'm going to outline some of the ideas on how to do that. So I then wrote my book, Customers Only Want Two Things: Winning Loyalty in a Competitive World. And we're going to learn what those two things are in this webinar, and I'm going to give you some ideas on how to go about doing it. So this became a foundation for a webinar that I have been presenting called Customers Only Want Two Things, and it has cards and decks and a manual and all kinds of things. This webinar will present you some of the very beginning ideas of it, the foundation of the program. So this word loyalty, wow, what a powerful word. It has to do with trust. It has to do with people wanting to be a part of your life or with you. Loyalty is one of the strongest emotions. I have loyalty to my wife, my country, a lot of things. But how do we win this loyalty? How do we do it? Is what I hope to cover in this webinar. It's a strong emotion. I love the picture of this dog leaning his head on the shoulder of her, and just think of the love that's between these two. It is a deep emotion, and it's one that is won when we do the right things. So over time, I have brands that have become my favorite brands, like Hilton, Costco, Apple. USAA has been insuring me for 40 years. Why are they favorite brands with me? It's because they've done things differently to win my loyalty. And I imagine right now you have your favorite brands that you have in your mind, companies or products that you're really, really loyal to. So now, I want you to think about that though. I want you to think about a business or product you're very loyal to. Not just satisfied, you will recommend it to anyone. Now, if you're with someone watching this webinar or whatever, you could pause it and share this. And if not, write it in the workbook anywhere on page 1. So what is a business or product you're intensely loyal to? Now, loyal customers do 4 things. And this is on page 1, number 1, and I want you to write these in on your handout. First of all, they come back. Loyal people come back, and we hope they will. Now, maybe not in healthcare. We hope that patients get better and don't have to come back. But in most businesses, we want people to come back and we want them to buy more. So write buy more on the second line. Then, very, very importantly, we want them to refer their friends. Hey, you want to do business with this company. You want to buy this product. I love it. That referral process is what gets you so much extra business. Then, you want them to offer feedback. You want to know what you're doing well or not so well. So loyal customers come back, buy more, refer their friends, and offer feedback. Write those things in number 1 on page 1. Now, interestingly, a lot of CEOs, in fact 80% of CEOs, Chief Executive Officers, think their company delivers a superior customer service or experience, but actually only 8% of their customers agree they do. So there's a gap between what businesses think they're doing and what the customer thinks they're doing. So the next question is, how do we really measure loyalty? Well, I will tell you one way. I don't like getting these long surveys that you get in email, and I think you've seen them before. These several pages over and over and over, and because basically when I get them, I don't take them. I don't want to take the time to do it. So in a book called The Ultimate Question 2.0, Fred Reichheld said there's only one really question that you need to ask your customers. And you can ask it in a lot of ways, just on cards or whatever. That question is, how likely is it that you would recommend us to a friend? And that is the ultimate question. So right now, I want you to think about a restaurant that you've eaten out at recently. Not a fast food restaurant, but a sit-down restaurant. And if you think about it, how likely is it you would recommend that restaurant to a friend or colleague on a scale of 0 to 10? Now, the 0 to 10 scale has been proven to be most effective because it gives us people a wide range of choices. So you would circle, so I took my family out to a nice Mexican restaurant the other day, and they were so fantastic. The food was great, the service was great. I would give them a 9, maybe even a 10. So I want you to think about that and write that in. Think of this restaurant because I'm going to illustrate it in this webinar. So basically what happens on the 0 to 10 scale, people divide themselves into 3 categories. People that give you a 9 or a 10 are promoters. They're delighted with you. They're out selling you to others. And they're going to come back and do those 4 things I recommended. People that give you 7 or 8, they're passive. They're okay with it. They might come back, but they might not. So they're not really for you, but they're not against you. They're just sort of passive. Like in school, that would be like a C and a B, not an A. But if people give you a 6 or below, they are unhappy. They are detractors. In fact, they would like to put you out of business if they could. So basically, you give all this score to people, and then you take the percentage of 9s and 10s, and you subtract the percentage of 6 and below, and you get a net promoter score. You don't count 7 or 8. They're not helping, they're not hurting, they're just passive. And that net promoter score is somewhere between minus 100 and plus 100 if you're fantastic. So there you have people that are unhappy, happy, and delighted with you. So now I'd like you to think about an experience that you had eating out in that restaurant that I just mentioned. And based on that experience, how likely is it you would recommend that restaurant to a friend? So I told you I would give that restaurant a 9 or a 10. Now, people have tricky ways of giving you feedback. This is a customer in a restaurant who wrote in mustard and ketchup, "We waited 30 minutes, no service." Wow. Someone had to clean that up, and I hope they learned a lesson. So customers do find ways to give you feedback. Now, my family was hungry, and they asked me to go out and get a pizza. So I went out and got a pizza, brought it home, didn't look at it till I opened the box, and there was this pizza, burned on one side, raw on the other, inedible. Now, therefore, of course, what would I give that pizza parlor? I'd give it a 1, maybe a 0. I would never go back again, and they lost me and lost everybody else that I possibly could have talked to. So what is a good Net Promoter Score? Well, if everybody loved you, you'd have 100 minus 0, and you'd have a plus 100 if everyone was a promoter. But SurveyMonkey has given thousands of surveys to people through the years, and they have found that the average one is 38, which means there's more people promoting than detracting. But we want more than 38 because they found that the best companies have a Net Promoter Score of over 70. So what do you think yours is? Think about that. Well, here's some top stars according to their study. And some of them you may know: Apple, Nordstrom, Amazon. These people have won a Net Promoter Score of in the 70s and 80s. Very difficult to do because you have to have so many promoters and not many detractors. So how loyal are your customers is the next question. So I want you to think about your own customers on number 3 on page 1. Being totally honest, if you were one of your own customers, how would you answer this same question? Would you give yourself a 10, a 9, an 8, a 7? Really think about it. If you were doing business with your company or buying your products, how loyal would you be? So I want you to circle that, and you might want to take this back to your team members and discuss it. So how do you get to a 10? How do you get people way up to a 10? How do you become a champion in customer service? Well, first of all, you got to remember that loyalty is different for different people. And so what do businesses do that make you loyal, for instance? Maybe it's service, maybe it's quality, maybe it's timeliness. So you might want to chat about this with people around you and ask them, what is it that wins your loyalty? So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. I had a funny experience up in Alaska, in Juneau, Alaska. I went into a place called the Red Dog Saloon. It's very famous, and you can hardly get in there. People love it so much. But a really funny sign. Now, of course, it's a joke, but they have a big sign on their wall that says, "If our food, drinks, and service aren't up to your standards, please lower your standards." Folks, we can't ask our customers to lower their standards. We need to raise our service to the highest level possible. But I got a kick out of that. So, you cannot differentiate with products. Your competitors already are. If you're selling saws or wrenches or perfume or hamburgers, I can get that in a dozen places. You can't really win loyalty alone here. You do it with your people, with the experience that your people provide, the experience that you provide. Really, your people are your only real advantage because products and services like yours are available elsewhere. So, Tony Seth said, "I'd rather spend money on things that improve the customer experience than on marketing." And I believe that's true. I really don't buy things off ads very much. What I want is to go to a place and have great customer experiences. So now, there is a connection too with how loyal your employees are. So there's something called the Employee Net Promoter Score. And that is how likely is it you'd recommend working for us. And they do the same thing. They give you a 9 or a 10 if they love coming to work and love working with you. 7 or 8, yeah, they're passive. But if they're unhappy working for you, they'll give you a 0 to 6. And they will influence customers because it's really hard to be down there and give great customer service. So you want to win loyal customers by winning loyal employees. And that's where leadership comes in, and that's where some of the other webinars that I'm teaching in this series are. So, you've got promoters, passive, and detractors. You take the percentage of the promoters minus the detractors, and you get the employee net promoter score, the ENPS. And these T's are very connected, like I said. So now I want you to go to number 4 on page 1, and I want you to think about you. If you are an employee of your company, even if you're just a one-man person, how loyal are you? So I want you to circle from 0 to 10. How likely is it you would recommend working for the company you're in to someone else? And I want you to do that because that's a very important thing, and I highly recommend you do it with your own staff. All right, so I grew up near Disneyland, and because of that, I have been to Disneyland many, many times in my life. And I am very impressed with how they create the customer experience. It started with Walt Disney himself. He said, "We will do what we do so well that the people who see it will want to see it again and bring friends." That's what I'm talking about. They come back, buy their more, and refer others, right? Well, I've had some wonderful experiences at Disney to illustrate this. Some years ago, this was about 14 years ago, 15 years ago, it was my wife's birthday. And when she told them that as she entered the park, they gave her a little button that said, "Happy Birthday, Denise." And for 3 days, everyone was wishing her a happy birthday. The people putting her on the rides, the people who were working at the store. "Happy birthday, Denise. Happy birthday, Denise." She must have heard it 50 times. But the great moment of all was on the last day. They had a parade because it was Christmas time. And on this Christmas parade, Santa was on the last float when it went by. And I kid you not, he looked down in the audience. There are thousands and thousands of people watching. And he said, "Happy birthday and Merry Christmas, Denise." Incredible. But let me tell you, my friends, it wasn't some kind of magic. They have a system for doing this. Because next to the float, they have a person walking with a headset, and Santa had an earpiece. And all the person had to do was find my wife there and say, "On the right, Denise, birthday, purple blouse." So Santa just had to turn around, look for someone wearing a button, and he could call her by name. "Happy birthday and Merry Christmas, Denise." Folks, that's magic. That isn't magic. It's a people that care, that come up with some amazing ways of giving great customer service. But you know, in today's world, it's come very technical, and sometimes our human experience, our customer experience, is more technical than human. And it's that human touch that makes it much, much more powerful. In fact, Stephen Covey said, "Organizations don't behave, people behave." So ultimately, we need to change how people behave. And it takes a team. This is a picture of a group climbing Mount Everest. Everybody's pulling their weight. Nobody can sit down because everybody's counting on everybody else. It takes a team. But even if you're by yourself, you still are a team member of your own self. And it's kind of a funny concept, but think about it. All right, so now we move on. What are the 3 keys of great customer service? So I want you to go to page 2, number 7, and I want you to write these in. The first key is attitude. Folks, attitude decides everything. It decides your altitude. So you want to hire people with a good attitude, and you want to watch your attitude when you're around customers. Is it happy, smiley, positive, welcoming, or surly, negative, depressed? So attitude is the first key, and we all can work on our attitude. We can always do things to improve our attitude. But the second thing is skills. So write that on the second line. Now, skills are critical because you can have a great attitude, but if you don't know what to do, how can you give great service? So we need to teach people the skills. That's what this program will begin to do for you. The third one is processes, because processes are so critical to customers. What are your processes? Your return process, your invoicing. Processes are the way you do business. And the processes are often what people touch first. They touch the phone, they touch your process, their sales process, your register, your cashier. So the third one is processes. So those are the 3 things: attitude, skills, and processes. Write those in the top. In fact, John Goodman said 80% of customers' problems are caused by bad systems, not by bad people. And Covey said if you put really great people in really poor systems, the systems win every time. So we need to make sure that we have great systems and processes for our customers. Work on that. And remember, too, that some of these systems and processes can be this stuff. What is this stuff? These are actual pictures of petrified dinosaur poop. Dinosaur dung. Petrified, millions and millions of years old. And some of our processes are like this stuff too. They are processes, and we can polish it up and make it look pretty, but it's still junk. It's still crap. And so some of these systems and processes have been around so long that we don't even question them. So there's two types of these systems. One is a policy system or procedure that stunk when it was first conceived, and now it's just become petrified over time. The second one is something that once had value many, many years ago, but it's now archaic, cumbersome, ridiculous, and inhibiting. And by the way, the sound of these is the same thing. People say, I don't know, it's the way we've always done it. That is the sound of dinosaur dung. But remember, people created these systems, and people can change them as well. So how much is lying around in your organization? I want you to think about it. What processes or systems could you improve that would really help your customer and help your staff? Now, by the way, your youngest or newest staff members often smell it first. They've not been around long enough to become immune. They actually ask, why do we do it that way? They question stuff. And so it's your younger and sometimes your new employees that may be the most effective at this. Well, anyway, Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is to continue to do what you're doing and expect to get different results. So, folks, we've got to do things differently if we want different results. So now we get to the main thrust here. Customers really only want two things. That's the title of my book and the title of this seminar. And what are those things? Well, I want you to be ready to write them in at the bottom of page 1, number 5. And here they are. Number 1, solve my problem. Folks, all businesses exist to solve problems. If there were no problems, there would be no businesses. If people were never hungry, there would be no grocery stores or restaurants. So the first thing you need to do is solve the problem. But remember, people expect you to do that. That's the basic. They want to get the problem solved. That's not going to necessarily win loyalty. It will make them satisfied. So basically, solving the problem does not necessarily create loyalty, only satisfaction. You get to 7 or 8 on that 10-point scale. This is even true in government or nonprofit organizations. They expect you to solve the problem. That's not going to necessarily win loyalty. So what does? Well, first of all, we need to remember we've got to solve their problem. And I like this quote, people who buy power drills do not necessarily want a 1/4-inch drill, they want a 1/4-inch hole. What that means is people buy products to do something with those products, to quote unquote fill the hole or meet a need. So you need to understand what is the real need that your company fills for people, what are the real problems they want your services for. And it's different. If I want to take my wife out for a nice meal, I'm not going to go to McDonald's. I want to go to a nice restaurant. I have a different need. But if I'm in a hurry, we're pulling off the freeway, McDonald's is going to do just fine, as an example. So you need to understand what it is that your customers want and what it is, because that's critical. Now, by the way, I had a hungry family at home wanting a yummy pizza, mention that, and what happened was I got home with this horrible pizza, burned on one side, raw on the other. It was not edible. So of course I would give that pizza parlor a 0. And not only that, but now I had nothing to feed my family, so we had to make sandwiches or something. I'll never forget that. Don't ever let your customers not have the problem solved if you can help it. Now, I like this back of a police truck in my town. They put on the back of the truck, solve the problem. I love that. If you're a police person and you come out, what problem are you dealing with? Solve the problem. Just remember that. Solve the problem. But what makes loyalty is number 2. Leave me feeling great about the experience. Be uniquely nice to me, just like what happened at Disney with my wife that day. They were uniquely nice to her when they called her by name. So we want to leave people feeling great about the experience. As they work with us, meet with us, talk to us, we're friendly, we're kind, we're creating an experience for them, an experience that is unique and wonderful. This happened to us on a cruise. I speak on cruise ships sometimes. My wife and I were on a cruise ship, and we got really great service from a waiter. And we liked him so much that we always went back to his table. And he found out that we didn't happen to drink alcohol, so by the second night, he wouldn't even ask us if we wanted alcohol. Well, that was pretty impressive. But what was really impressive was about a year later, we went on another ship in that same company, and he was there. And when we came in, he said, "Kevin and Denise, you're back." And he says, "They're mine." He brought us to our table and he said, "And you don't drink alcohol." So he remembered our names and something unique about us. That's what I'm talking about, that kind of experience. So Rudy Giuliani said, hope is not a strategy. Hoping that your business gets better is not a strategy. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to start with a little exercise. I created decks of cards. I call them hot tip cards. And there's 33 cards in the deck. And I've given you some of those hot tip cards on the pages in your workbook. So we're going to have a little activity called the hot tip activity. On the next pages, you have a selection of 16 of the 33 hot tip cards. And so I want you to look at these 16 cards and think about if you do them often, sometimes, or rarely. And write the card numbers in these boxes. Now to help you, here's a picture of what you have. So you write O, S, or R, often, sometimes, or rarely, above each card in the box. So, number 1, do you smile and greet every customer you encounter anywhere? If you do that a lot, put an O in there. Number 2, do you greet every customer within 10 seconds? If you do that sometimes, put an S in there. Number 3, if you walk a customer to the door as they're leaving and you don't do that very often, put an R. Do that on all 16 of those boxes. And then if you want, you can hit pause before we go on. So now you've done that. You choose 3 hot tip cards out of all of those 16, and you go to the next page that looks like this. This is an action plan, and you write the cards in there. And notice that there's 21 boxes up to each one of them. Because if you do something 21 times, it becomes a habit. So you write 3 cards in there, like 1, 4, and 7 in this example, and you start checking off when you've done them. And then you ask yourself, what if everyone in the department or team just did one a day? Just one card that they chose. And the next day they could choose a different one. The bottom line is everybody's doing something every day that's unique, powerful, that's making a difference. So one city government team chose number 14 and put it on a big poster. And they decided they would say nothing negative about a coworker or a customer all day. And by focusing on this, the city manager said that in 1 week, the culture of the city offices was different because there was no negativity. Nobody saying bad stuff about each other or anybody. So that was really a powerful application. So we got to take care of each other though, folks, because if we're not nice to each other and if managers aren't nice to staff and so forth, wow. If these people are abusive to each other, how are they going to then turn around and give great service? So the key is, and I always tell managers, the number 1 customer for you is your staff. The better you treat your staff, the more they're going to treat your customers coming in. So remember to take care of each other. So another thing I want to teach is how to make instant connections with people when you meet them, whether it's a customer or just anybody. And so I want you to go to the top of the next page, and page 5, and you notice their eye color. So when you meet someone, follow these simple rules. Notice their eye color, point your heart to them, and get them talking and keep them talking. So let me explain that a little bit better. When you meet someone,
you notice their eye color. This makes you have some kind of eye connection with them. You're not staring in their eye. You just, wow, you notice their eye color. It's a human connection. Then you literally point your heart to them. You turn your body so your heart is pointing at them. And you put down your phone and your distractions, and then you get them talking and keep them talking. And there's different ways to do that. Let me explain how. So you get them talking and keep them talking. And you make a short statement and ask an open-ended question. Welcome. We're glad you're in. How can I help you today? And you try to keep them talking, because that's what customers want. They want to be listened to. So what I want you to do now is make progress on your action plan. So I hope that your card that's on the page in your packet looks something like this. This is one I did many, many years ago. I decided that I was going to do 14, 33, 32, 30, and 25. And I started checking off when I did it. So this is kind of your scoreboard that shows you that you can change your behaviors and give customers great experiences. Now try not to get discouraged. Things don't go well every day. Learn from this mother duck. This is really cute. She walks her little baby ducklings past a building into the wind, and they start getting blown all over the place. And so they're getting blown all over, and then she gets blown, and pretty soon everything is scattered. Does your day feel like this by 9 o'clock sometimes? But what I love about it is she doesn't give up. She doesn't get discouraged. In fact, it only takes her 8 seconds to get her babies back in a row, getting her ducks in a row. They all come back to mom, but even she knows you don't take them back in the same direction. Don't do stupid twice. So she leads them out of the wind. So if you make a mistake, learn and don't do it again. All right, so now by the way, I have an offer for you. If you'd like to experience the full workshop, it's about 4 hours, and get some specialty cards with it, we can bring this 4-hour program to you. We can do it virtually as well. And everyone will receive all 33 cards, plus all these quick cards like these. One for cashier, serving on the phone, receptionist, salespersons. I have a dozen of these different larger cards that give specific tips for different positions. So you might want to do that. So I conclude right now with a couple of great quotes. Maya Angelou said something beautiful. She said, "They may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel." Folks, your customers may not always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Same with your children. Same with everyone you meet. They're not going to remember everything you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And Mother Teresa said, "There are no great things, only small things done with great love." So you have a exercise, a packet that you can use, a final assignment on page 7. And I want you to write in one behavior or tip you have now committed to do. This is your application for the workshop. And then go out and do it. Do things that will win loyal customers. And remember to treat people, everyone in your life, through kindness. Try to solve people's problems that always leave them feeling great. And thanks for participating. Best of luck to you as you work together to create a warm and welcoming culture that leads to loyal customers. So again, this is Kevin Miller, thanking you for participating, and I hope you learned some interesting things and watch the other webinars in our series. God bless you as you serve customers and win their loyalty.
Okay, my friends, I hope you learned some things from that slideshow and presentation about winning loyal customers. Remember, I told you they want 2 things: solve my problem and leave me feeling great. So the key is now you've got the handout packet. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to apply? What ideas will you apply? Because remember, there's fish out there. Let me show you one more time. That is success. You want more fish, eating more, telling other fish about it, and really coming to you for customer loyalty. Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Miller. This is a part of a series of webinars. I hope you watch all of them. And be sure and watch the introduction to this whole series because it talks about tools. And I was in my garage. I've moved out here right now. So anyway, welcome everybody again. Kevin Miller, president of Vision Bound International. Let's go fishing. Let's go get these fish out there.